Good afternoon. With me today, the Chilean filmmakers Alicia, Scherson, made films such as Play, Turistas, Il Futuro with Rutger Hauer, our Dutch favorite, and Cristián Jiménez, Optical Illusions, Bonsai, which played in Cannes, if I'm correct. My first question would be, why did you decide to team up for this film? I know you worked together in the past, but you wrote a script. Co-directing is something else.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual to co-direct. It's not something that we had done before. We were both coming out of projects that had been a bit exhausting. International co-productions that had been complicated, that had taken a long time to be done. We had to wait. And yeah, one day I was visiting Alicia at her new home, and we just said, let's maybe make a film together at the house. There's so many opportunities to do things here. Let's try to figure out a story and make a film here. And then we spoke to Alejandro Zambra, who's a really close friend of us. And I don't remember if we told him that we wanted to make a film with his story, or he told us.
For the audience, Alejandro Zambra is a very famous Chilean writer.
I think he's translated in Dutch.
In Dutch, in English, and everywhere almost.
And so he told us that he had said to both of us that he wanted to have that story made into a film, and we had not said anything. We had forgotten also, but so he said, okay, let's do it, but I write the screenplay, and we said, okay, you do the screenplay. It was also something that he had not done before. Mm-hmm. So in a way, the three of us, we became like the team to develop the project.
Yeah, but I would say co-directing your film is, of course, La Vida Familia, but when you start to co-direct, it's almost a marriage, so a lot of things could go wrong.
Yeah, we thought they could go wrong, but at the end was really easy. We got along in the set, and also we were roommates for like 2 years, and we co-wrote his first film, Ilusiones Óptica. Then we wrote in a couple of other scripts of mine. We were like reading each other's scripts and commenting the cuts, so we knew we had like a similar sense of humor, and it was a matter of seeing how it worked in the set. And it worked fine. We took turns every day, but in a way we were together all the time. But if we were arguing about some take, then each day one of us had the final word. And then if the other one was not happy with that final word, he had like one more take. So that worked pretty good. And the actors were okay. Like one of the actresses, the one that plays Consuelo, she said that it was cool to do like sometimes, because when there were difficult takes and we were like, okay, you do one, I do one, then she had to try different tones for the same scene. Mm-hmm. Let's say, for example, the scene when they say goodbye and Martin almost kisses her and she's like, no way. We had like many different ideas for that. We took so long in doing that, and like we tried to do it like seriously, like more comedy, more cold, and like
with a kiss, with an actual kiss,
with a real kiss, without the kiss. We have like a lot of options, and that was also fun to like have the shooting be like a more lively, creative process too. Yeah.
Yeah. The story, of course, Martin is sort of an imposter. He gets into the house and starts behaving rather strange. He pisses in the plants. He smokes in the bedroom of the girl. I did wonder. You just flew in from Sundance in America, and I really wondered about the response of the American audience, because over there, if you're to smoke in a bedroom of a little girl, there's even serial killers who would say, no, you're not allowed to do that. I wondered if the audience was laughing or were they shocked or.
They were like laughing nervously, like the whole time. I think the film, all that part of like invasion is funny because you can put like something really violent and they maybe won't care. Yeah. But this like somebody pissing in the garden or smoking, or the whole thing with the Nutella joke, the sexual joke with the Nutella, they were laughing, but it was like a crazy laugh. They were like you know, they were like making noises. Like, it was really interesting.
And it's interesting that I would say the majority of the responses were more or less similar, but there are certain moments where people here were really just quiet observing, and they were laughing crazy in the States, like the Nutella jokes, and some bits that we thought were not necessarily, were more maybe emotional moments, and people here didn't laugh, but they did laugh in the States. So it's like, you know, different sensitivity, I guess.
Yeah, and this of course this happens with all sorts of comedies, but it does. I think it says a little bit about the way you some comparisons which are to be made about your films, both your films, is that the humor. There's a lot of humor in it, but it's not so much straightforward. There's no cues like, well, for instance, now you have to laugh, or so. I do wonder, is that how do you weigh this, especially when you work together? How you could have made it a lot more funnier, more obvious funny.
Or dramatic.
Or dramatic, yeah.
We have that. That is, I think, what makes our work more similar. I think Cristián is maybe more like straightforward, not straightforward, but like maybe more people would say his films are a comedy. I always try to have my films like labeled as a comedy, and like not everybody thinks so. So I'm super happy with sometimes the festivals would put like in the genre, they will say like, oh, comedy. You know, okay, like,
We
yes.
don't know what it is, so it's a comedy.
Well, my first film, I tried very hard like to convince like the producer to like that we should sell it as like an existential comedy, and he was like, no way, that's like nobody will see that existential comedy. So, you know, the comedy thing is like something that is really interests me, and we were scared that when we were together, like because Alejandro wrote the script, but we wrote too. I mean, after he finished, we like sat together and like sort of polished it our own way, and we like started pushing more the jokes, and like we sort of I don't say how to say it, like
I mean, the thing is, there are many times we are in situations where we laugh at jokes where we are the only ones that are laughing. So we were worried that was going if we were, you know, controlling this whole situation, we were going to push that too far.
That we push it too much, you know, sometimes. So we were like trying to control each other to say like, let's not try to be too funny, because sometimes we're like just like pushing the joke, and like it's like nobody, like the editor was like really nobody will laugh at this. Like, you have to take this scene out, and we're like, no, it's so funny. It's like, no, it's not. You know, it's not funny. So I think that's the kind of comedies I like too. You know, it's like when you are not sure if you have to laugh or not. You know, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think we are often dealing with material that is maybe naturally dramatic. So it really is a tone thing. So of course, in the writing, you give that tone flesh, but we're walking in an edge. You know, it's not clearly comedy material, but a dramatic material that is being approached with a certain degree of lightness, and that's where the humor arrives. Yeah.
You were both born in the 70s. This film about, well, marriage life, la vida familia. It seems this sort of life is a sort of a trap, but then again, there's not really an escape route, because either way you're doomed. But could you explain a little bit about? Is this something that's common with people your age in Chile, or they feel that marriage life is boring, or this type of life? Yeah.
Well, I think we are both like around 40, 40 something.
40 something.
And both us, the writer, the producer, the actors, and also the characters in the story, except for Pachi, which is like from the younger generation, no? Yeah. And for us, I think we are the first generation in Chile to have really the open choice of like becoming or not a family, like a conventional family. Instead, like our parents' generation, that was like the rule. You could not have a family, but it was like you were more of an eccentric, you know. But for our generation, it's really an open choice. And in our age, when you're 40, that's when you start seeing sort of the paths, the more final paths people are taking. So we all have friends like Martin, and some of us, like, let's say I am a recent family person, you know. I'm 42 and I just like have a baby like at 40, so this is my first years
You're
of
still
family
practicing.
life. I'm like, starting this path. So it was very like a hot issue for us, like for Cristián is a little bit Martinez, not that weird. And so Alejandro was like totally like single, and now he just got married. So it was like very like a moment where those things start to happen. So for us, it was like a topic that was like in our conversations, and the story itself, when we were developing the script, that was like something we could talk a lot about, and we wanted to make clear in the movie that we were not like, of course, saying this is better than this, but just how every character in the story is always with the fantasy of being in the other side, you know. It's like being the free guy or having the coziness and the protection of a house.
Yeah. Of course, these are very universal films, which might apply to some persons living in in Holland as well. But there seems to be something in Chilean films or in the history. I think I saw it in Gloria of Sebastián Lelio as well. You see a big division between the generations, where they just they couldn't divorce or they couldn't live separate. And now, well, of course, you're the first generation, I'd say, that has this freedom.
The thing is, after the 90s, the country transformed itself so quickly that it's been, 25 years now, but it's really as if the whole thing has changed completely. So that's why we feel very far from the older generation, and at the same time, we feel very far from the younger generation that is way more free about these choices and about the lives, which is in a way the character of Pachi in the film. That is has a maybe even though there are certain things in common with Martin's character, the way she approaches her life is completely different, and she's way more free. And there's even a moment where they explicitly said, you know, I grew up in a democracy, unlike you. I had sex education. And it's a little bit of a joke, but it's true. You know, the degree of repression that we experienced when we were kids is something that when we think about it now, it feels like a dream, like something that is so not plausible right now.
This Pache, you just mentioned her, she sells movies. Is that still, are there people in Santiago selling movies, or is it, because it seems like something from the past?
Like piracy DVDs?
Really selling them, yeah.
Dealers.
Yeah.
People have their personal dealers, like a drug dealer. They will call and say like, hey, do you have like Simon Lian, you know? Like
Simon Lian is really big on the black market in Santiago right now.
It's the only
good
way.
thing.
It's the only way to get it. For some, you know, I teach in the public university in film school for like 10 years already.
You teach in film school, if I'm correct.
In the Universidad de Chile, and in the patio outside the school, the film school. There's like the table with the guys selling these like pirate DVDs. And when I first arrived, I was like, you can't sell here, you know, we're in the university, like we can't teach. And then it's like all the students, like they get there like for $2, all the movies that they cannot get in the cinemas.
Do they sell your work? Do they sell your films?
Yes, they do.
Of course they do, yeah. Of course, Chilean film, I'm not sure if I would call it an industry, but Chilean cinema exploded, I think 10 years ago, you might say, but it grew from just a couple of films every year to, I'm not sure how many are put out right now.
30.
Yeah. A bit the same as the Netherlands right now, I would say, but it's, is it still growing, you would say? And is there a bigger audience in Chile, back at home? Because I know your films, they get played on festivals around, but they also get theatrical release sometimes in the US, which is very rare and special. But I do wonder, is there an audience back home?
It's a complicated situation. I think it's complicated for us in Chile, but it's complicated pretty much in many countries now. I mean, Chile is a country, unlike this country, for example, that doesn't have a protection of the cultural scene generally. So everything is really given away to the market. and that's how the country works, even the education, the healthcare. So of course that happens also with culture and cinemas. So pretty much, the big American movies can do as they please, and there's very little space protected for even other kind of foreign films to have, a space that allows for those films to really stay in place and during their exhibition. So it's a bit complicated, and in a way, during these last 10 years, this scene, it's hard to call it an industry, but this scene has really grown, and I think maybe we've reached a point where something will need to be fixed for this to be incorporated somehow into a system. And we don't know exactly what that will be still, But creatively, there's a lot going on. I think it's a very exciting moment. There's so many young people making films. Many of the old directors, people who are in their 60s or 70s, are also shooting. So it's like a lot of people of different generations shooting at the same time. And that is super exciting, of course.
There's like more and more production and less audience. So it's like an absurd situation that has to explode somehow.
Or the audience is like stable. It doesn't grow.
But it splits in much like the same audience that would go like when I started in 2005. They had like 5 Chilean movies to choose, and the same people now go to 30 movies, and that's it. So. It has to naturally. We talk about this in Chile, like how to fix it, and they put some money here and they put some marketing there, and nothing seems to work. So at some points the whole thing is gonna explode, and I'm kind of like impatient for it to happen somehow,
to break something and
something
to move
has
on.
to get broken. Yeah.
And at the same time, I would say there's more cinephilia than ever. But it's more linked to the internet than linked to the cinemas, because the programming in the cinemas is pretty much super. I mean, I hardly go to the cinema in Chile anymore.
So they return to the black market in front of the university again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This film is shot inside of your own home. Cristián, you live in Paris. You still live in Santiago. I know you carried a baby around then, 9 months old. But I think it's. Most people would say, well, the last thing I'm going to do is direct a film in my own house at this time in my life.
Yeah, but it was like, how could I direct a movie? I didn't feel like going to a shooting. It was impossible that I would like get up at 7 a.m. and like leave my baby and then go. I was breastfeeding. It was impossible for me to shoot in another condition. So it's like I can't go to shooting. I'll bring the shooting to me. And because we were sort of owners, we made a company with the writer and us two producers. One of them, the father of the baby, so he was involved. Because
useful.
And then we made our own company and split everything. And so we have control over the conditions of the shooting. And so say, okay, I can shoot from 9 a.m. because the baby sleeps until 9. And then, a lot of shots and takes that the baby will cry and we had to repeat. But, it was part of the thing. And, Ignacio Agüero? Ignacio Agüero is a Chilean documentary maker, very known, older generation from us. And he was shooting his last documentary that he was going to other directors' films shooting. And he was in our shoot, so we are actors of his film. But most of our part is taken by a long shot of my baby like sleeping outside the house, because she was taken with the car, like with the trolley outside the house for not making noise in the shooting. So I mean, it was. I think it was the way to go, to like adapt the conditions. And I'm a fan of like things can always be done in a different way.
And it was really like a friendly shoot. So it was a small crew. People that there was a lot of trust. I mean, Emma, the child, she was being passed around during the shoot sometimes, and anyone could have it for a little while. So it's almost as if the boundary between the family life,
it's a business
of
model
the shoot
almost.
And the actors and the life of the house, that division kind of erased during the film.
So there's almost three families in your movie. There's the Bruno and Consuelo, then there's the fake family, and then there's the only one that's really functioning is the film family.
Yeah, it was
And
pretty
then
much
my family.
it was
Your
it wa-
life, yeah.
It was really a family shoot, and shoots have their own energy, and sometimes it goes beyond the material conditions, if there's money or not, or how many. For example, we finished every Saturday because we didn't start early. We finished like at 8:30, and the assistant editor would present us with what had been done during the week for the directors. And every Saturday we finished, and the whole crew stayed for like 40 minutes or 45 minutes to watch what we had done when they could have already gone home having a beer. I mean, when people do that, it's because something is happening that is making them feel good, And that's always useful, for a shoot.
How is the main actor? I read there was a benefit for him back home where you first showed the film. I'm not even sure if he was in an accident but something happened after the shoot.
No, he has after the shoot he had a neurological disease, like really serious, and he lost his partially his sight and his language, and had to has problem walking. It's a very dramatic situation, but he's now recovering. But he's spending a lot of money in therapy, so we did a benefit for him. For the first screening of the movie was like a benefit for him. So yeah, it's a very sad situation because he's such a great actor. He's very well known in theater back home. And he's been in a couple of movies before this. I think he has one main role before, and Piotr, Bad Translation is called the movie. So we really hope he gets better now. So yeah, I think he's the total heart of the movie because it's such a difficult character to play. We both have made films with Cristián with a liar, an impostor, like a fake. Like in Turistas, I had one of the characters is a liar, and Bonsai, the same. So I think it's a very rich character for writing and for acting. It's very complicated for an actor to play somebody that's acting, So he has like two inside stories because he has to be a good liar, so he has to act, but then he's also acting in the first level. So it's very tricky for them, and I think
as the audience, we're never sure where he will go or what's going on. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I hope he gets better. We almost have to wrap it up, but will you, team up and make another film together, or is that a part of the plan, or are you now both heading another direction and perhaps in the future? Yeah.
I think we're both planning individual projects now. But I say, why not? I mean, as it happened in this case, that at some point we thought it was a good idea to make a film together, and since it has been a great experience, we might be in a situation in the future where we would want to do it again. Why not?
Maybe when you're a father.
Yeah,
when he's
maybe.
a father, yeah.
Vida de Familia 2, Family Life 2.
Yeah, that would be a good title. Yeah. And one more quick, you worked with Rutger Hauer. I wonder if you're still in touch with him. He's quite a character, but...
Yeah, no, just like some messages here and there. Yeah, it was like a fun experience, but of course,
Yeah, he's well known as... he's a force of nature on set, and he always has his own views. It doesn't matter if he's directed by Ridley Scott; he will tell Ridley Scott what to do. So I imagine.
Yeah, it was really challenging. Nobody told me that before,
Nobody told you?
No, but I found out pretty quickly. But we ended up, at the end, he's a reasonable guy, so we had to of course, the first thing, he didn't know who I was, so it's he said, he thought maybe he could direct the movie, but of course, then when he realized he couldn't, then we got to a real good terms to work. He went all the way to Chile, so he was in my territory there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and hope you have a pleasant stay at the festival. And thanks for the film.
Thank you.
Thank you.